Anybody who finds any lost items, they should bring it to the office. And there's some specific item lost. But the only thing is, the Prophet ﷺ, he said that if you call out in the masjid, I'm looking for this item, please, and when anyone find it, then you're supposed to make a dua, bad dua for that person. La radallahu dallatak. May you never find what you lost. Because of that warning, I'm not announcing what has been lost. But I hope he finds it. So that's why there is somebody lost something. Rajulun, there's one man, nakira ghair mu'ayna, undefined. He lost something, shay'an. So that thing he lost, if anybody comes across something that seems like, wow, this must have been lost, this doesn't belong here, then bring that to the office. The only reason I'm not identifying it is why? Because we hope he gets it, right? And we don't want to go against the hadith of Rasulullah. On the opposite side, so there's two ways. One is if somebody's looking and he says, oh, I lost this, go find it, please look for it. Because the reason why is this prohibited? Is because when you come to the masjid, you're focusing on finding Allah's pleasure. We're focusing on looking for maghfirah from Allah. Now what happens if you divert everyone's attention, look for that particular lost item. So it's like a treasure hunt. This is a maghfirah hunt, ridwanu min Allahi akbar hunt. Now it becomes a treasure hunt for that. Who can find it? Yeah, and what happens is that if somebody, sometimes people, they heard this hadith, but then they misapply it as well, where one time somebody left something and I announced it, oh, this particular laptop, who does it belong to? Take it. Someone came and told me, isn't that haram in the hadith? No, there's a difference between the two. So it's an opportunity for everyone to learn that if the lost item, you have it, and then you say, oh, who does this belong to? That's permissible. Right? Because in this scenario, we're not looking for a lost item. We already have the lost item. Whoever this belongs to, please come to the office and claim it after describing its contents, how many clinics in it. Right. So whereas if the item is, if you don't have it, the person is known, but his object is not known, right? There's two things. People have their objects. So in this case, we know the person, but we don't know where the object is. Sometimes you have the object, you don't know who it belongs to. So one scenario is permissible to announce, the other scenario is not permissible. Subhanallah. I'm not going to say sabko subhanallah. Okay. Huh? Number 6? Jazakallah khair. Jazakallah. Alhamdulillah alladhi ja'ala fi min ummatina man yuslihana, inshallah. Okay. So we have actually, I believe it's number 7. Yeah, we finished 6. Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ajhalun nasi. Ajhalun nas means the most jahil person, the most ignorant person. Who is the most ignorant person? This is a very strong word he started off with. Ajhalun nas, the most strong person. The most jahil person, the most ignorant person. He's a person who makes a very fundamental mistake. Man taraka yaqeena ma indahu. He leaves and he abandons the conviction and the yaqeen that he has. Lidhanni ma inda nas, because of the conjecture that other people have. So let us examine this statement. The most ignorant of all people is the one who abandons the certitude he has for an opinion people have. So first there are two things. Something is called yaqeen and something is called dhann. Yaqeen is that which is confirmed. And dhann is something which people have an idea about it, they're assuming something. So between the two, which one is more confirmed, yaqeen or dhann? Yaqeen. So the general rule is, if you have yaqeen about a matter, then you go with the yaqeen. You don't abandon the yaqeen and go with the dhann. Right? So there's another scenario that just comes to mind that it's two ways. One way it works, the other way it doesn't work, and people are confused about it. There's a general rule people may have heard that, oh, you know, when you're in doubt about whether you have wudu or not, then you're supposed to just say, continue on and believe you have wudu. Don't worry about it, because this is an attack from shaitan. If you're going back and forth in your mind, do I have wudu or don't have wudu, then you should just go ahead with wudu and don't worry about it. So this is the truth, but it's not the whole truth. You know when you go to court, may Allah protect anyone from having to go, but you'll say, I swear to speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So what this is true, but it's not always true. How so? It's because there's a very general principle that's in line with this topic, is the concept of yaqeen and dhan. And the principle is that al-yaqeen la yazulu illa bil-yaqeen. That which is certain cannot be cancelled out except by something else which is certain. Al-yaqeen la yazulu bil-shak. That which is certain cannot be removed by something which is doubtful. Meaning, in most cases, the mistake happens when a person has made wudu and he knows he made wudu. So his default yaqeen is, I made wudu. Then he's doubtful that did I pass gas or not, right? Maybe I passed gas in the car on the way here to the masjid or something, or depending on the diet, right? So he's doubting about the fact, did I break my wudu or not? So the principle is that if you know as a default you had wudu, and you're doubtful, did I break my wudu or not? Until you know for certain that you broke your wudu, you will have wudu. Because al-yaqeen la yazulu illa bil-yaqeen. So that which is certain, the fact that you had, this is not directly related to this transition. You're trying to figure it out, what's on the board, then you'll be confused. We're not there yet, right? We're just setting the stage, okay? So we're just talking about the concept of yaqeen and zan. So you go with yaqeen. What's the flip side? The flip side is that if you know for certain that I used the bathroom, because I do recall in my mind that I didn't use the toilet. I remember flushing the toilet. I used the toilet. But the question in my mind was, when I left the bathroom, did I make wudu with the sink there or not? So I remember my interaction with the toilet. I don't remember my interaction with the sink. Okay, so hopefully he washed his hands at least. So the thing is, he doesn't remember the second part. So the fact that he knows he used the bathroom, but he doesn't remember if he made wudu. In this case, per the principle, what happens? He has to make wudu, right? So in this condition as well, he's doubtful between the two. So going back to what is commonly understood, people say, oh, whenever in doubt, don't worry about it. Bismillah tawakkal, go ahead, you have wudu. That's not always the case, because both of these people are doubtful. But the nature of their doubt is different. One has a doubt, did I break my wudu or not? One has a doubt, did I make wudu or not? So the one who knows he has wudu and he's doubtful if he broke it or not, go in with the wudu. But the one who knows he used the bathroom, he has doubt whether he made wudu after that or not, he better go back to the default. This is one example about yaqeen and dhan. Something which is certain and something which is doubtful. You always go with what is certain, you don't go with something which is doubtful. Now, when it comes to how we are supposed to treat other people, we do not have a yaqeen and conviction about what's in their heart. Do we have a yaqeen about what's in their heart? Whenever we see someone doing an action, for example, there's a fundraiser for the parking lot expansion of 2024. If somebody stands up and he gives his name for $50,000, or inshallah, say inshallah. Say, if it's inshallah, you can say he gives his name for $100,000. Say inshallah. Right. So then how much does it cost to say inshallah? Nothing, right? Maybe Allah will accept one of the awliyas, inshallah, and somebody will. Because it's a very expensive project, let me tell you that. So in any case, what happens is that if somebody, and you look at him, he did an amal, he gave 100,000. And what should our opinion be about him, that donor? Oh, he's doing it with sincerity for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the reason he's doing it publicly is to encourage other people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالَهُم بِاللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ, those who spend in the path of Allah in the night and the day, sirran wa alaniya, secretly and also openly. So when do you do it secretly? When you want to hide the identity of the particular recipient. Like the fact that Zayd is a respectable member of the community, and then Zayd has some financial difficulty at home, people don't need to know about that. So if you're giving money to Zayd, you don't have to do it publicly and do a GoFundMe. You can give it to him privately. Right? That's when you want to hide the identities. That's sirrun. Alaniyatan is when it's an open project, that everyone knows, right, that the malaika are not going to descend from the sky to build a parking lot. تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها. Even Jibreel alayhi salam comes down. تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر سلام. They come to say salam to those of you, all of you doing ibadah in the days of Qadr. They do not come to build a parking lot, right? So this is something that is well known. It requires funds. Are you going to hide it? You don't need to hide it. So in this case, if you give openly to encourage other people, it's rewarding. So when you see somebody who is donating and you say, oh, he must be showing off. This is having a bad opinion called dhannu su. And to have a good opinion is called husnul dhan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ijtanibu kathiran min adhan. All those who believe, avoid having suspicious thoughts. And dhannu bil mu'minina khayra. The Prophet ﷺ said, have good opinions about others. So people are supposed to have good opinions about us. And we are supposed to have good opinions about them. We are supposed to have good opinions about one another. Hadrat was sitting here in Itikaf, there's Hadrat here. He was sharing with me about Mawlana Ashtani, Hakim al-Ummat, rahmatullah alayhi. He said that, Okama qal, I don't remember the exact malfuz, but to the effect that husn dhan ke liye dalil ki zarurat nahi hai. Right? To be able to have a good opinion about someone, you don't have to be searching for concrete evidence. By default, you should have good opinion about someone. Right? For dhann su, to have bad opinion about someone, you need a dalil. You need evidence for that. So you are just like in court, you are what? Innocent until proven guilty. So the default is what? Innocent. So you should have good opinion about people. So we should have good opinion about others, they should have good opinion about us. Okay. This is opinion regarding each other. What about the opinion I should have about myself and others should have about themselves? Everyone should have regarding themselves. Are you going to have an opinion? There's no question about having an opinion. There's no opinion here. There's certitude, there's yaqeen. You have opinion about something you don't know. But about yourself, there's no opinion. It's the knowledge of the reality. Because you know your own self. Sahibul bayti adra bima fi. The possessor and owner of the house knows what's going on in the house. Man anam ke man danam. I am the one who knows what I am in Farsi. So, what you have regarding yourself is not a dhan. Husn dhan or su dhan is not a question of dhan, it's yaqeen. So you have yaqeen about your own condition. When you make muhasabah and you go over the condition of your heart, you know exactly where you stand. And you know exactly kitne pani mein hai, as they say, like how sinful we are. Everyone knows. Rabbana zalamna anfusana. La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu min al-zalimin. We know how zalim we are. So we have yaqeen about our condition and how pathetic our condition is, deplorable our condition is. And how great a sinner we are, how much criminal we are, how mujrim we are. We know that. Asi. Ana mukhti'un, ana mudhnibun, ana asi, anta rahimun, anta ghafirun, anta afi. Qabaltuhunna thalathatan bi thalathatin fasataghlibanna sifatuka sifati. Right. So this was our Mufti Minhaj Sahib used to say this, our teacher, a lot. So we are sinners, Allah is a forgiving, and inshallah, His forgiveness is greater than our sins. So we know where we are, we know how we are. So we have yaqeen about our condition. Now people, how should they treat us? Like I myself, I know how much sinner I am. Now people are going to say, oh Mufti Sahib, aap dua kijiye, and fulan hai, aap Allah wale, and this and that. Ibn Ata'illah Iskandari is saying that when I hear the husn dhan of other people, and I start thinking, oh, I must be Mufti Sahib, I must be Nek, because that's what everyone else is saying. That's their dhan, and I have yaqeen. So the ajhalun nas, the greatest ignoramus, jahilist person who made the biggest mistake, he falls into the dhan of other people, the husn dhan opinion they have, and he abandons the yaqeen he has. You have yaqeen about aap kitne pani mein hai, kitne gunagar hai, how much sins you are committing. People have the good opinion. He's not saying here that other people should stop having good opinion. They're doing what they're supposed to do. That's fine that they have good opinion about you, and they should continue to have good opinion about you. But you start believing what they're saying. Oh my God, you have yaqeen about your own condition. How dare you leave your own yaqeen and you follow the dhan of others? You've done the reverse. It's supposed to be the other way around. That's what he says. The most ignorant of all people, he's the one who makes such a big blunder. Because when you have a yaqini matter and a dhanni matter and going with the dhan and leaving the yaqeen, this is not necessarily like a khabathat or evil. This is straight up jahalat. Like there's different types of, everything broadly can be categorized as wrong. But there are different categories of wrong. This is like a straight up jahalat. Like, can't you get it straight? This is a simple fact that if you have yaqeen about the matter, why are you falling into the husn al-dhan other people have? So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the reality of tawadu, and subhanallah, this is a sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He is a sattar, and He is hiding our faults, and that is why we are able to show our face in the public, and we continue to ask from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if He is sattar today, then He will be ghafar tomorrow, and He forgives our sins tomorrow as He has concealed them today. The next statement is talking about tawadu'. He says, at-tawadu' al-haqiqiyyu, the true, actual humbleness. At-tawadu', which is al-haqiqiyyu, the genuine tawadu'. Huwa ma kana nashi'an, is that which emanates from an shuhudi 'azamatihi, from witnessing the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and sensing the revelation and the tajalli of His sifat. What he's talking about here is, he is, subhanallah, resolving a contradiction that may appear in our minds. And he's showing us that the reality of tawadu' is when we look at the majesty and greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then we look at how far we are from fulfilling His rights. So tawadu' is based upon contemplation over our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and is not based upon contemplating over our condition versus other people. So most of the time, general public, if you ask about tawadu', like I'm being humble, it means that, oh, I do not consider myself better than X, Y, Z, Zayd, Amr, Bakr. Do you follow? But he's saying, don't go into that. Rather, the true tawadu' is that you compare yourself to the blessings of Allah Ta'ala that He has given you, and how far we are negligent in fulfilling those blessings, in thanking Allah for those blessings, and fulfilling His commands and avoiding His disobedience. Okay, this is not something very simple. This is something profound, because we're like, okay, I get it, I know what humbleness is. No, it's not. Look, one way to appreciate the answer is if you understand the problem. Let me present a problem. The problem is, who is the best of the creation? See, the problem is when you're comparing with one another, it's going to lead to a crisis. The crisis is that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam obviously is what? The best of the creation. And this is more of an itikaf crowd, but we expanded this topic of how is He the best of the creation, and one of the divine addresses after Taraweeh, the divine address from Allah, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, we talked about that. The short of it is that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when we say He's the best of the creation, meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the sole khaliq, and everything in existence is His makhlooq. So, and every single thing in existence besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a makhlooq, and from the entire makhlooq, the best of the makhlooq is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ba'd az khuda buzurg tohi, qissa mukhtasar. After Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are the greatest. This is a brief story. I don't have to go into a detailed, voluminous explanation. Ba'd az khuda, after Allah. That ba'd part is important. We don't want to fall into the problem of the Nasara, right? Where they started making part of God. Ba'd az khuda, after Allah, you are the greatest. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the greatest. So in all sifat, He was the greatest. In all attributes, He was the greatest. In His ilm, He was the greatest. In His hilm, He was the greatest. In His sifat, He was the greatest. So who had the most hubb al-akhirah? Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Who had the most hubb of Allah? Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Who had the most sabr? Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Who had the most shukr? Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yes? So who had the most taqwa? Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Who had the most hidayah? Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Who was the most beloved of Allah? Is Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Every sifat, the jamila, He had the most, and He was the farthest from the radhail and the sicknesses of the heart. Amongst all of the sifat that He had more than everyone is also what? Tawadu'. So He had the most. Who was the greatest human being? Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Who is the most humble human being? Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Oh my God. So in our incorrect interpretation of tawadu', this would become a problem. Because if we interpret tawadu as a comparison between human beings, that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the best human being, and like for example, we perform salah. So if I'm a humble musalli, I'll say, oh, Imam Sahib, I can never pray like him. So his prayer is better than mine. That's why I'm humble in my prayer. Oh, mashallah, he speaks so well, he has so much ilm, or so much, he's so generous, he's so rich, I'm not like him. So this is tawadu. If this is what we understand. Now what happens is that if Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam had the most tawadu, did he have a deficiency of knowledge that he wasn't aware of his own greatness? When he compares his salah with Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, did he fall under the misunderstanding that Abu Bakr and Umar, Uthman, their salah is better than my salah? No. He knew for a fact his salah is better than all of them. He knew his ibadah is better than all of them. He knew that everyone else in the ummah, potentially their salah may be accepted if it is resembling his salah. That's why he even told the ummah, Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli, perform salah the way you see me performing salah. So if he knew he was the best, Ana sayyidu waldi Adam wala fakhr, Allah has made me the leader of all mankind, wala fakhr, I'm not proud, I'm telling you this is a fact. And he said, Liwa'ul hamdi biyadi yawm al-qiyamah, the flag of hamd and praise of Allah will be in my hand in the day of judgment. And miftahul jannati biyadi yawm al-qiyamah, the key to the Jannah will be in my hand in the day of judgment. And innal jannatu harimat ala al-anbiya hatta adkhulaha, Jannah is haram upon all the prophets to enter it until I enter it. Wa innaha la muharramatun ala al-ummami hatta tadkhula ummati, it's haram upon any ummah to enter it until my ummah enters it. So he knew his maqam. So how was he the most humble being when he knew he was the greatest being? How do we resolve this apparent dichotomy? It's because tawadu is, as he says here, مَا كَانَ نَاشِيًا عَنْ شُهُودِ عَظَمَتِهِ. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, just as he was in every single sifat the most, when it comes to the ma'rifah that he had regarding that and sifat of Allah, how supreme Allah is, his appreciation of the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. His qalb al-musaffa al-mujalla al-mutahhar al-munawwar, his perfected heart had the greatest level of ma'rifah and perception and realization about the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, more than anyone else. And this is part of the answer. The first part is that he understood the great, this shuhudi azamatihi, who had the shuhud of the azmat of Allah, who witnesses his might more than Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam? No one. And who had the tajalli of his sifat, who sensed the revelation of the attributes of Allah. The fact that he is al-muqtadir, the fact that he is Rahman, he is Rahim, the fact that he is Sami' and Basir, who had the appreciation of the sifat of Allah Ta'ala more than Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Do you understand? No one. So the haqq and the right Allah has over His creation when it comes to worshipping Him, who had the greatest perception of that? Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he realizes the infinite power of Allah more than anyone else. After realizing this, despite the fact that his ibadah is the best of the entire creation, after performing that ibadah, which is the best ibadah from the makhluk, because of his perception of the infinite nature of the Khaliq, he would have the perception, realization of the difference in how far he has not fulfilled the right of Allah. Because he sees how great Allah is, and despite being the best of the creation, he's still what? Creation. And by virtue of being creation, he is finite. So he realizes that, wow, I am still so far away from fulfilling the right of Allah, because his heart is overpowered by the shuhud of the azmat of Allah. And because when he looks at how far he's still never going to be able to fulfill the right of Allah, and he says, Ma abadnaka haqqa ibadatik, oh Allah, I can never worship you the way you deserve to be worshipped. This will create that tawadu. He's not looking at Abu Bakr and Umar and saying, oh, I wish I could be like him, I wish I could be like Umar. Oh man, I wish I could be like Ali or Uthman. If he would compare himself to them, then he's not going to be humble, because he's better than them. But he's looking at the infinite nature of Allah, and then he realizes how far he is from fulfilling the right of Allah. So that is what's creating the tawadu. Whereas us, the reason we're not humble is because we think mistakenly that we have checked all the boxes. We have fulfilled the right. Oh my God, I even did itikaf. These other guys, Are jare, what the heck is that? They're coming and going 2 days, 3 days. They call themselves mu'takif, part-time. What kind of part-time? I did it all 10 days. Right? We don't say this bilisan al-hal, but we feel lisan. Bilisan al-qal, lisan al-hal. With our tongue, we may not say it in our heart. So like, I'm okay. I mean, what else do you want me to do? You want me to do itikaf and eat? Okay. So we are okay. Because we have not realized how great Allah is and how much the right of Allah is, so we are happy with our situation. We are so content with our situation that we end up thinking we're better than other people too. But if we realize how much the gap is between whatever we have done and how much truly Allah deserves, then that would create humbleness. Does that become clear now? That's what he's saying here. The at-tawadur, the true tawadur, is not based on comparing yourself with others, but based on comparing yourself but after looking at the azmat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there's never an opportunity to consider yourself better than anyone else. When we look at how much we truly owe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the reality. I hope I was able to explain the meaning of this. Does anyone understand? Jo samajhe na samajhne walan ko samjha de. Between now and Dhuhr you can discuss it, or till Eid, I guess. When the shayateen are dismissed, then others get dismissed. Okay. Anyway, so then after that we have Haddun, Haddun nafs. Hadd is the share. The share of the nafs. Haddun nafs fil ma'siyah. The share that the nafs has in sins. Zahirun jali. The ego's share in the disobedience is outwardly clear. Meaning a person, na'udhu billah, is involved in disobedience. Drink or gambling or sins of the eyes, sins at looking at that which is not supposed to look at, hearing that which is not supposed to hear, sins of the heart, sins of the mind, sins of the body parts, sins of earning, sins of speaking, afatul lisan, of the tongue, all of these sins. The fact that the ego is enjoying it, the fact that the nafs is, relishing it, this nafs ammara bisu, it's so hard to kill it. Bara mudi kumara agar nafs ammara kumara, right? So this nafs ammara that is really destroying us, it's enjoying the sin. Obviously, everyone knows that, right? حظ النفس في المعصية ظاهر جلي وحظها في الطاعة باطن خفي ومداواة ما يفا صعب علاجه. So he says, حظ النفس, the share of the nafs in the sin, in the disobedience, is outwardly clear. وحظها في الطاعة, the share of the nafs, it's also relishing and getting enjoyment. Where is he getting this nutritional power from? في الطاعة, from the acts of obedience. This is batinun khafiyun. Batin is hidden inwardly, khafi. The nafs many times is actually getting stronger and stronger by outward acts of obedience, which we will talk about obviously, right? What does that mean? وَمُدَاوَاتُ مَا يَخْفَى صَعْبٌ عِلَاجُهُ. And to cure that which is hidden is hard indeed. Okay, so there are different types of sicknesses, right? One is, you're playing maybe volleyball at a camp or something, and then you break your arm. Right? So if you break your arm, it's very obvious. So you take an X-ray. You don't even have to take an X-ray if you want to determine what, simple fracture compound maybe. But what I'm trying to say is that you have to tie it, and the symptoms are very obvious. The bone is broken. And who heals it? Allah Ta'ala heals it. لا يجبر الناس عظما أن تكاسره ولا يهيدون عظما أن تجابره, as Mutanabbi mentioned in a moment of Tawheed. Anyway, so he talks about the fact that the bone that is broken is healed only by Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. If we just tie it and Allah heals it. So there is a sickness that is very apparent. It's the symptoms are very manifest. So it doesn't take like some Nobel Prize winner, rocket scientists. Rocket scientists really can't help in this anyway. But it doesn't take a genius to diagnose the disease. Where does the geniusness of the physician come to play? When there are no symptoms. It's hidden. You're trying to figure it out. There are two types of doctors that, it's more challenging for them. Which ones? Veterinarians and pediatricians. Because the patient can't tell you where it's hurting, right? So, the veterinarian, he goes to ask the cow, like, where does it hurt, cow? It's not gonna, right? It's not going to be able to. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said about the animal, "Irhamu hadhihi al-baha'im al-mu'jama." Allahu Akbar. Have mercy on these animals that are mute. They cannot complain against you in the court and say, this is what my master is doing. Right? Ajam means that who cannot speak. Because the Arabs used to say all the other language is like taking rocks in a can and making noise. I don't even consider it a language. That's why Ajam means those who cannot speak. So the Baha'im al-Mu'jam, the animals that are mute, they can't speak. And the pediatrician, the baby cannot speak. So the disease that you don't see the signs and symptoms of it, it is like the silent killer, hypertension, right? So some person has blood pressure, is not getting diagnosed, and it is harming the heart, okay? That's why we should get our annual physical, right? So, and then there are other things. A person has chest pain and he's going to go to the ER. You may get it treated. So what is he saying here is that the fact that the nafs is enjoying the sin, it's a very obvious disease. So you can get it treated. But the nafs may actually be enjoying the ta'ah. This is not a genuine, sincere ta'ah. If it's a genuine, sincere ta'ah, the nafs is not going to enjoy that. He's talking about what is apparently looking like a ta'ah, but something else is going on. It's a wolf in the sheep clothing, right? So you have nice, beautiful sheep, lambs, beautiful lambs to slaughter, right? Anyway, the beautiful sheep, and there's a wolf in the sheep. He looks like a lamb, but he's actually a wolf. So likewise, if seems like ita'ah, so a person thinks, oh, I did so much sadaqah, I did so much som, I did salah, I even did itikaf, I did all of these good deeds. But if there is any some adulteration in his niyyah, then Allahumma fadana, the whole action is gone. But he doesn't even know that his action is gone. That's why we have to continue to ask for Allah Ta'ala for ikhlas, yes?
What do you mean by adulteration? I don't understand.
Adulteration means something it's for the sake of Allah, but then it's also for the sake of impressing others. It's also for the sake of name, for fame, for making connections. All kinds of wrong niyyat intentions come in. Got? Yeah. Got it now? Yeah, okay. So we can expand on that. I mean, you can keep on talking about people. Ajib, I don't want to give you any more wrong ideas what could happen, because you say, oh my God, I never thought about that. The craziest niyat come across. Sometimes, for example, one of the hardest jobs of, when you're running like the hifz school part, that's why Uthman Akhtar hafidhahullah ta'ala wa ra'ahu took it over. I don't have to worry about it. May Allah remove his pains as he has removed mine. But one of them is that when you have to eventually, after 2 or 3 years and 4 years, mashallah, in 4 years he's on 4 forges. That's not good, right? So that means there's a problem in the progress. So when you have the final meeting and you have to talk to the parents, and you have to, it's very, very difficult, because they have this whole dream that my son will be a hafiz, and you have to sit and have that conversation. And the conversation, you try to make it as easy, slowly give them hints and break the sad news that perhaps, your child can do many other things, but our professional opinion is that continuing him in his program may not be the best thing at this stage. Perhaps later on in life he can come back and all of that. But right now, what's actually happening? He's literally being expelled, right? Not necessarily because, if it's a disciplinary issue, you don't have to be that painful, because this guy is actually, whatever. You send Wasim for that one, right? He no problem. This guy came with, he's selling vapes in break time. Right? How are you selling vapes, brother? This is in the handbook, this stuff you can't bring it. That's very easy. But when it's a good kid, righteous kid, but he's not able to do the hifz. Nek bacha hai, adab hai, wala saliqa, but he just can't do it. He doesn't have the acumen right now. Maybe Allah will open up his mind and heart later. So when you tell them that, so I was talking about adulteration of the niyyah, right? So I could not even make this up. I never knew such a niyyah existed. Where the parent, instead of being sad, oh, that crown on the Day of Judgment, you're saying I'm not going to have it. Oh, you're saying I'm not going to have the robes of honor. oh, he won't intercede on behalf of 10 people in my family. If he said that, I would have gotten it, because you're believing in the virtues of the Hafiz. But then one of them said, at one time, long time ago, so it's not identified who it is that, subhanAllah, he said, oh my God, I was putting him into his program because so many of these Hufaz, they do so well in the MCAT. So, and they can be going to the direct medical program. Because when they become Hafiz, that it makes it easier for their mind, when they memorize the Quran, then they can memorize anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, pathology. And they can do so good. Then they get into the direct medical program. That's why I want him to be Hafiz. Now you're telling me my son's not going to be a doctor. So I was like, oh my God, are you serious? Okay, so this is when there's a problem with the niyyah. There's a big problem with the niyyah, right? I was like, oh my God, we have bigger problems here. Okay, so if we have the wrong niyyah, then all the effort is wasted. So as we say that if somebody says that, if they give us a glass of milk, and it's a crystal glass, and he says that, subhanAllah, this is pure organic milk, right? From cows that were not injected with any hormones, etc. It's pure, and then after that I boiled it and everything. Look at the layer of the fat on top. I don't know how healthy that is, but okay, it's supposed to be a good thing apparently. So look at the cream. This is pure milk. لبنا خالصا سائغا للشاربين. And you're ready to drink it. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, it's only 1 drop of urine in it. So who's going to accept that, right? Khali ek drop, right? It's only 1 drop of urine. No one is going to accept that, right? So if we are not going to accept anything, talking about adulteration, right, that is tainted, why would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept any amal that is tainted, right? So that is why we have to have sincerity in our actions. May Allah give me and you, all of us, sincerity. So that's what he's saying, that if a person is outwardly enjoying ibadat, and he thinks he's doing everything, but there's some hidden sickness the entire time, it's hard to diagnose that. And because it's hard to diagnose that, it may end up being the silent killer. So we have to awake and get treated, get diagnosed, get checked out, that in our deeds, are we truly being sincere or not? We have to make muhasabah. Before we begin the amal, we make the correct intention. During the course of the amal, what do? Keep on rectifying our intention. And after we complete the amal, we say, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. Oh Allah, if there was any deficiency in my niyyah, oh Allah, please forgive me for that. Because treating that sickness which is hidden is hard indeed. Allahumma hafizah. He says, this is la li nafil jins, right? There is la saghirata, there is absolutely no minor sin. إِذَا قَابَلَكَ عَدْلُهُ, if the justice from Allah confronts you. Which sin? Because who are you disobeying? The minor sin is when you're disobeying, someone who is a minor. But Allah is so major. Allah is the Malik, we are His Mamluk. Allah is the master, we are His slave. Allah owns us completely. He's Malikul Mulk. لَهُ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ. To Him belongs everything in heaven and earth, and we are in the heavens and the earth. We are where? On the earth more like that. So we belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He gave us commands, we disobey Him, and then we say it's a minor sin. I just mentioned a story. Another story came about this one, but it's now something I want to share on the mic. But so we come up with all these ajib ideas that this sin is minor, that sin is minor. There is no minor sin if the justice from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala confronts you. Because who are you disobeying? Allah. How can you say it's a minor infraction? Chalta, it's not a big deal. Everything is a big deal. You're talking about Allah here. It's not, your wife, your kids, your neighbor, your friend. He won't mind. Don't worry about it. Hey man, you just took that plate of food. Maybe somebody saved it. Don't worry about it. It's my friend. ليس عليكم جناح, what is it? وبيوت آبائكم وأمهاتكم وإخوانكم وما ملكتم مفاتيحه أو صديقكم. If you eat it's your friend's food, it's okay. So No, you're talking about Allah. He said, don't eat this. How can you eat it? Wala kabirata, on the flip side, there is no major sin. They're all minor. إِذَا وَاجَهَكَ فَضْلُهُ, if His grace confronts you. Right. So if you get, subhanAllah, you see how He just completely flips it on the other side. So if you look at the adl from Allah, then there is no sin is minor. If He gives you what you deserve, it's called adl. And if He gives you more than what you deserve, it's called fadl. So when you're getting something from Allah Ta'ala, think about the following statement, alert. The following is something to note. There are three scenarios when you deal with somebody. Very simple, logically, aqlan. He gives you what you deserve. What is that called? Adl. He gives you more than what you deserve. What is that called? Fadl. He gives you less than what you deserve. What is that called? Dhulm. Any person you deal with, I didn't say Allah, right? Any person you deal with, there's three scenarios. He gives you what you deserve, adl. He gives you more than what you deserve, fadl. He gives you less than what you deserve, zulm. In the world, there are so many protests with banners, and there's, repeat after me on the megaphone, he said, we demand justice. We demand justice. Repeat. We demand, okay, no, don't repeat. So we demand justice. This is what everyone is saying. You know what? On the day of judgment with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we do not want justice. Because that's the worst case scenario. There's only two scenarios. Adl and fadl. There is no zulm. Remember there were three scenarios? But can Allah, inna Allah la yadhlimu nasa shay'a. Allah does not commit zulm on anyone. There is no possibility of scenario number three, zulm. So the worst case scenario is you get justice, which you truly deserve. You're a bit paresan? You're okay? No, you? Yeah, okay. All right, so the worst case scenario is you get justice, and the best case scenario is you get fadl. So we do not want who wants the worst case scenario? Anybody wants the worst case scenario? Because if you get adl mare gaye, right, we're destroyed. What does adl mean? You get what you deserve. What do we deserve? ثُمَّ لَتُسْأَلُنَّ يَوْمَئِذٍ عَنِ النَّعِيمِ. Allah is going to ask us about His favors. So many favors, so many blessings, no shukr. So many tests, no sabr. So many commands, no compliance. So many prohibitions, committing it. Major sins done, minor sins done, mukhalafat sunnah done. We got everything, every single sin. So if we get adl, we are in trouble. So that's why we seek fadl. So when the adl, if the adl of Allah comes, which is possible, then there's no sin which can be considered as saghira. And if the fadl of Allah Ta'ala, a person is lucky to get, there's no sin that's kabira. Why? When you say kabira, kabira means big. So if the fadl of Allah is coming, is there a sin that is so big, oh, Allah can't forgive it? This one, I can forgive that one. Oh man, this one is too big. I cannot forgive this one. Is that the case? No. Allah can forgive all the sins. Allahumma maghfiratuka awsa'u min dhunubi. Oh Allah, your maghfirah is so great, it's greater than all of my sins. So that's why there is no kabira when the fadl of Allah is there. Subhanallah. So this is again the same thing. Ar-raja, what is it? Al-iman bayna ar-raja wal-khawf. Iman is between hope and fear. Okay. Allah Akbar. This is another attack of shaitan. Al-huznu, to have grief. A person has grief, huzn, sadness. Why is he sad? You look at someone and say, are you sad? He said, I'm sad. Why are you sad? Ala fuqdan al-ta'a. Over the loss of obedience. So this was the 25th night, this was the 23rd night, all these people are doing ibadah, and then I tried to drink as much chai to stay awake, it didn't work, right? So he's just sad. I slept, I wasted my time. So he's sad. Why are you sad? I'm sad because I didn't do ibadah. Now, this is, this is ajib, because this person didn't do ibadah and he's sad, and by sitting there and being sad, he's kind of happy about being sad. Like he's literally happy about himself that at least I'm sad. I'm a good person because I'm sad about not doing good deeds. So he's just consoling himself by being sad about not doing good deeds. This is what he's talking about. You know what he says? If you're sitting there being sad, ma'a adamin nuhudi ilayha, and this sadness is coupled with the absence of resolve. बैठ के बस गम खा रहे हैं, क्या करें, गम खा रहा हूँ, आप बिरयानी खा रहे हैं, मैं गम खा रहा हूँ, right? So Why are you sad? I'm sad because I'm a gunegar, I didn't do anything. Hey man, why don't you have some resolve to change your life? If it's coupled with the absence of resolve to bring it back to life. You know what he says? Is this person, once again, this is a bad thing, right? But there's different categories of bad things. Is this person like completely evil? He's not evil. He says, min alamatil ikhtirar. He says this is one of the signs of delusion. He's deluded. Dhoka mein hai. Ikhtirar means this guy is in a dhoka. So he says, al-huznu, bait ke gham khana, to be sad that, oh, I didn't do acts of obedience, man, I wish I could have been pious, I wish I could have done this. That's okay if that's the first step to motivate you in the right direction. But if you're sitting there just being sad and then you're happy about being sad, in a weird way. You're happy because you think like, wow, other people are relishing their sin and they don't care, whereas I actually care and I'm sad about it. Yeah, but just being sad about it is not really helping you. You're not going anywhere with that sadness. You got to actually stand up and do something about it. So if this sadness is coupled with, ma'a means it's coupled with, absence of resolve to bring it back to life, then min alamat al-ikhtirar is one of the signs of delusion. There are many different signs of delusion. One of the signs of this person being deluded is this one, just sitting in there and being sad. So what do we need to do? We need to actually do something. We have to actually take steps to bring change, bring sustainable, actual change in our lives. May Allah Ta'ala give me and all of you tawfiq. What do you? He's in a delusion about the reality of the matter. He's in delusion about, he thinks it's okay and I'm fine. He's delusional about the fact that he thinks that his being sad means he's forgiven, means that he'll be okay. Because see, other people are wasting their time and they're not even sad. At least I'm sad. They were playing carom board and watching television or depending on their background. Some are playing video games all night. And I tried, I went and drank the coffee 3 times in the line and still I fell asleep. At least I tried and he's feeling sad about it. So he thinks I'm better than them. So this is his delusion. Being sad is not sufficient because Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that Qabil, he has a kifl min kulli qatlin ila yawm al-qiyamah. He has a share of every single murder till the day of judgment. Qabil. What did Qabil do? He killed Habil. He was the first murderer. All right? And this is the command of Allah Ta'ala to narrate the story. Because Allah Ta'ala says, وَاتْلُ عَلَيْهِمْ, tell them the story, نَبَأَ أَبْنَيْ آدَمَ بِالْحَقِّ, the story of the 2 sons of Adam. When they loved the same woman, they both wanted to marry her. And the twin sister was the one that you could not marry. And then the thing is, if there was a different birth, then that would not be considered sister. I don't know if anyone ever thought about it. How would you get married and have procreation? If you have one father and one mother called Adam and Hawa. I know this is something kind of a bit gross, maybe some little thing, but there was no other option, right? Because Allah Ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhan nas, inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha. We created all of you for one male and female. And what is that surah? In the ayat of nikah, we perform the nikahs hundreds of times. And we have that surah al-Nisa. Ya ayyuhan nas ittaqu rabbakum alladhi khalaqakum min nafsin wahida. Oh, this is even beyond that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, we have created you from one person. Who is that one person? Adam alayhi salam. And then وَجَعَلَ مِنْهَا زَوْجَهَا, another place he said, وَجَعَلَ مِنْهَا زَوْجَهَا لِيَسْكُنَ إِلَيْهَا. From Adam alayhi salam, Allah Ta'ala created Hawa alayhi salam. From the rib. Right. Not from the skull bone, ke sar pe utha ke rakhna hai, right? Not from the heel ke kuchal dena hai, right? But from the spine to keep it dil ke qareeb. Right? But you guys are in itikaf, I don't want to talk about these topics. Okay, so anyway, so he وَجَعَلَ مِنْهَا زَوْجَهَا لِيَسْكُنَ إِلَيْهَا, to keep so anyway, and Allah Ta'ala said, إِنَّا خَلَقْنَاكُم مِّن نَفْسٍ وَاحِدَةٍ. And from them Allah Ta'ala created the entire human being. So Qabil fell in love with his twin sister. He was supposed to marry his non-twin sister, right? So then Allah Ta'ala said, okay, إِذْ قَرَّبَا قُرْبَانًا, bring your sacrifice, qurbani. فَتَقُبِّلَ مِنْ أَحَدِهِمَا وَلَمْ يَتَقَبَّلْ مِنَ الْآخَرِ. He accepted it from Habil and he did not accept from Qabil. Why? Because Habil was a shepherd and he brought his best goat and lamb, the best one, top quality. And what about Qabil? He was a farmer. They took different paths, different majors and careers. So he was a farmer. So what did he do? He was a farmer. Instead of bringing the best crop, he brought some weeds. وَلَا تَيَمَّمُوا الْخَبِيثَ. Don't give a khabith thing to Allah Ta'ala. Allah Ta'ala says, وَلَسْتُمْ بِآخِذِيهِ إِلَّا أَن تُغْمِضُوا فِيهِ. If you were given it, you would frown and say, oh man, you gave me this? That type of stuff, don't donate that. Don't donate like clothes that are filled with lice or parasites or something. So that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said here. He gave it. تَقُبِّلَ مِنْ أَحَدِمَا وَلَمْ يَتَقَبَّلْ مِنَ الْآخَرِ. So Allah accepted it from Habil and did not accept from Qabil. لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. You cannot attain piety to spend of that which you love. So what did Qabil say? He said, قَالَ لَأَقْتُلَنَّكَ. I will kill you. So Habil said, how is that my fault? قال إنما يتقبل الله من المتقين. Allah accepts it from the one who has taqwa. What can I do about it? Anyway, he said, لئن بسطت إلي يدك لتقتلني. If you want to stretch forth your hand to kill me, ما أنا بباسط يدي إليك لأقتلك. I will not try to kill you back. Because إني أخاف الله, I fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So فقتله, he killed him. After he killed him, he didn't know what to do with the dead body. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent a demonstration. What is the demonstration? 2 crows. The 2 crows came and they started fighting, and one crow killed the other crow. After he killed the other crow, then with his beak, he started digging in the soil and he buried him. فَبَعَثَ اللَّهُ غُرَابًا. Why? لِيُرِيَهُ كَيْفَ يُوَارِي سَوْءَةَ أَخِيهِ. To show him how to bury the body of his brother. يبحث في الأرض ليريه كيف يواري سوءة أخيه. قال يا ويلتى أعجزت أن أكون مثل هذا الغراب فأواري سوءة أخي فأصبح من النادمين. So he said, oh man, this crow is even smarter than I am. It knows what to do. I should do the same thing. And then فأصبح من النادمين. He ended up having nadama, sadness. So he had this huzn. That's where I was coming with the story. He got sad. Oh man, I shouldn't have done this. I'm such a jahil. Why did I do this? But he never made tawbah. Being sad is the first part of tawbah. It's not that, there's 3 parts. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu tubu ila Allahi tawbatan nasuha. Do make sincere tawbah. Sincere tawbah, the first thing, there's 3 tenses: past tense, present tense, future tense. So one responsibility for each of the 3 tenses. With respect to the past, sincere regret. That's important, but it's 1/3. It's not the whole deal. Second is, in the present, you leave it. You can't be involved in the sin at the same time I'm just sad about it and you make tawbah. You're still doing it. Stop it in the present. And with the future, you have to have azam and confirm, like determination not to return to it in the future. Azam, you have to have azam and confirmed resolve not to return to it in the future. Right. So this is, everyone has probably heard this before and knows this. So, but then I want to add something perhaps you may not have thought of from this point on. Is that there is a very, very major deception of shaitan here. What happens is that we know the hadith, we know this. A lot of people who are like you are, select demographic who are in itikaf, you're not, general public. So you must have heard these 3 parts of tawbah. This is, by the way, when it comes to haqq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When it comes to haqq of ibadillah, then you stole somebody's money and you have sincere regret, I shouldn't have stole it. Okay, now I'm stopped stealing it, and in the future I will never steal. Is that it? You got to return. Okay, so that's the 4th part. You got to return the stolen property. Okay. So there's 4 things when it comes to haqq wa ibadillah, and there's 3 when it comes to haqq Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we know that if we make a sincere tawbah, what happens? At-ta'ibu min adh-dhanbi kaman la dhanba lahu. The sin is forgiven, it's gone. But then as time passes on, if we break our pledge to Allah, break our tawbah, then what happens? We committed a sin again. Do we still have an opportunity to make tawbah or not? No. Is the door closed? No, it's one time, limited offer, tawbah. No, you can make tawbah again. If you make tawbah again, what happens? The sin gets forgiven. Right? Then if you break it a 3rd time, can you make tawbah again? Yeah. I'm coming to a point, hold on, right? So then 3rd time you ask Allah for tawbah, is the sin forgiven? Yeah. 4th time? 5th time? When does it expire, the offer? Up to death, exactly. Inna Allah yaqbalu tawbat al-abdi ma lam yugharghir. This is onomatopoeia. The word sounds like the sound, right? Like the bees buzz and the phone rings. When the word actually sounds like the sound that it come of it being in action, that's called onomatopoeia. And so this is what it is. Yugharghir is a verb, fi'l rubai. Gharghara yugharghiru, which means the death rattle. So as the trachea, as the through which we breathe, begins to collapse, as the nafs is taken out. So just like when a person is snoring, you're familiar with snoring every night, or every day actually rather. That happens, the snoring throughout the day, right? So what happens is that, so that's because the trachea is closing, collapsing. So then the sound, as the air is coming out, it makes that sound. So this is known as the death rattle. When a person is dying, the final breath that comes out, this sound, and then his nafs goes back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Inna Allah yaqbalu tawbat al-abd. Allah is ready to accept the tawbah of a slave, ma lam yugharghir, until the final gharghar and his akhri saans nikal gaye, right? His last breath comes out. Okay, so that's a very correct response. The offer is open till a person dies. Okay, so if a person, he commits a sin, na'udhu billah, say he's addicted to watching something haram, right? So he makes sincere, he's regretful about it in the past. I'm going to leave it, watching it now, and I make sincere tawbah never to do it in the future, okay? And then he's addicted, so he goes back for the dopamine. Second time, makes tawbah. Third time, makes tawbah. Every single time he's making tawbah, he knows that if I make a tawbah 100 times, 1,000 times, the offer is open. He thinks all of his sins are being forgiven. But guess what? This is the point. Not a single sin is forgiven. They're all adding up and is never forgiven. You know why? Because every single time he's making tawbah, the sin is forgiven, provided it is a tawbat al-nasuh. And a tawbat al-nasuh means that he has sadness over the past, leaves it in the present, and he has 100% conviction never to repeat it in the future. But every single time when he's making a tawbah, in his mind, he's like, I'm never going to do it in the future. However, I'm banking on the fact that if I do break my tawbah, Allah will forgive me the second time. If I break it, it's not the end of the world because Allah will forgive me. So I'm trusting in that offer is still open. Yeah, inshallah, of course I'm trying not to go back to it. But if I do, Allah will forgive me. So it's not 100% resolved. He's not 100% resolved. He's like, no, I'm not going to do it, period. I'm not going to be falling back. There's a fail-safe. Like if my plan fails, I have a fail-safe. I have a backup. The backup is I'm going to just make tawbah again. I'll be all fine. So he still has that in his mind. That option is still there. So then the condition of the azam al-musammam, strong determination that no matter what, I'm not going to do it again, is not found. And that condition is not found, tawbat al-nasuh is not fulfilled. If tawbat al-nasuh is not fulfilled, the sin is never forgiven. And every time he's breaking his tawbah and he's asking forgiveness and he's breaking it and he's like, oh man, I'm good to go because all of my past sins are forgiven. None of them are forgiven because not a single time he did tawbat al-nasuh. Does that make sense? So what are you supposed to do then? You're supposed to actually make such a tawbah and say that's it, oh Allah, I pledge I'm not going to do it, and I'm not going to be sitting back and relying on the fact that the offer of tawbah is open, so then in case, no, I'm not going to think about it in case. I'm not going to do it, period. And how am I going to be able to stick to my promise? Because I'm going to rely on myself, or I'm going to rely on your tawfiq. Your tawfiq. And I'm seeking tawfiq from you, guidance from you, help from you, and you make it happen. And oh Allah, do not leave me to my nafs for a moment. What is the dua? Do not leave me to my nafs. La takilna ila anfusina tarfata ayn. Oh Allah, do not leave me to my nafs for a blink of an eye. If you leave me to my nafs for a blink of an eye, the game's over, I will lose. That is the truth, Allah. So we were talking about Qabil and how he had huzn, he had sadness. Oh, sadness over the loss of obedience. He had sadness. Oh, I murdered my brother. That's bad. I'm sad. But he never did the complete tawbah. So just being sad is insufficient. I think this is sufficient for today. Huh? Or we have more, but we can leave something. Huh? जी हजम भी करना है ना हाँ चलो मौलाना ने आपकी तरफ से He spoke on behalf of everyone. So we will inshallah continue this tomorrow. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to make amal. May Allah ta'ala, as he said, hazam farma de. And then after that we practice it. May Allah ta'ala give us the basira and understanding of the deen. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali sayyidina Muhammad wa barik wa sallim. Allahumma barik ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad wa barik wa sallim. Oh Allah, on this blessed day of Jumu'ah, in the month of Ramadan, in the itikaf, the brothers are here. Oh Allah, accept all our du'as. Oh Allah, make this upcoming Jumu'ah. Oh Allah, accept your Jumu'ah, accept our ibadat of the entire night. Ya Rabbil Alameen, become pleased with us, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Oh Allah, make us change individuals. So when you go back, our family members say that, Subhanallah, you have changed. Your akhlaq are different, your adat are different, your afkar is different, your amal are different, your niyat are different, your behavior is different. Oh Allah, oh Allah, oh Allah, completely changes inside and outside. May not be so when you go back, they say what you were doing, what are you wasting your time? You're not the same as before, you're worse than before. Oh Allah, do not make that our outcome, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Oh Allah, purify us internally, externally, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursalin.